You're
Good
mute
morning, good
mode.
morning, good morning, everyone. How's it going?
Good morning.
There we go. Man, it's just brutal waking up this early, man. I swear to God. Fucking hell. But we're here. Eddie Howe Presser, ladies and gents, versus pre-match to the Southampton match, of course. So we're gonna see what he comes up with, what questions he's asked. Good morning, how's it going, Mighty Win and Gary? All good?
Yeah, all good.
Good. Just looking to see whether he thinks the team are going to travel today.
Yeah, with the weather.
Because the storm is out. I've woken up this morning, the bins all over me back garden.
Is
Yeah,
it
the
crazy?
forecast is 70-mile-an-hour winds, which is probably nothing for you guys in America.
Well, I couldn't tell you because I have no clue about when. Well, I mean, 70.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty quick, man.
but this isn't the eye of the storm yet. Apparently, this is just the precursor.
Oh wow.
Well,
Wow.
the eye's nice and calm, of course.
Of course, yeah, of course. That's probably where I am because it's lovely out here.
We need the eye to be over. I was going to say the Dell St Mary's tomorrow afternoon.
My goodness.
Because FA regulations, anything above 60, it's up to the referee to decide.
That's right. And the problem is the stands at St Mary's isn't massive, is it?
Well, I'll tell you what, that's going to be interesting.
So I think that'll be the first question, anyway.
Well, I mean, what is he going to say? I have no clue.
Yeah.
I have no clue what if they're going to cancel the game or move forward. It's not up to me.
Yeah, that's all that happened. It just get postponed, which will be an additional midweek fixture, of course, or until we get knocked out of the FA Cup.
Which, to be fair, would throw us off. In
and then that teams will be gaining an extra 3 points on Howe, which makes it difficult.
I mean, with one game behind, so well, yeah. I mean, I guess that's one of the questions there. We see the chat in there. Please hit the like button. Please do that right now if you don't mind. Hit the like button. Help us reach as many Newcastle fans as we can get. Kevin Bale says by tomorrow afternoon the winds will be gone. It's fine. Game on. All right. Well, that sounds good. Paul Sprague, moaning or morning? Well, either or, I guess. For the win. Roger says win is kind of mental. Like, well, yeah, man, that's crazy. I thought Newcastle, or not Newcastle, but England in itself didn't get many storms like this.
Well, it doesn't happen that often. That's why
you guys are freaking out.
Cold hurricane wind.
Steve, Newcastle to Southampton flight canceled today. Oh, look at that. Steve saying that the flight has been canceled. Well, it probably would. It is if it's 70 miles per hour. I mean, that's crazy. But the game is tomorrow, so I mean, tomorrow at 3 p.m. You have to leave early, really.
I do feel sorry for the Newcastle fans, though. If you imagine traveling all the way down there, being battered, regardless of how you get down, to be told when you get there that the game's cancelled, that would be absolutely soul destroying.
Yeah, no, that's the main the thing about fans as well. We didn't bring up until you did it. So yeah, that's very important. Roger says many trains are off, so even the trains are being called off. When
yeah, well, they said that on Thursday. Last night we said.
Yeah. There was the crossover. Was it King's Cross? That was already off. Yeah. So there's obviously something happening down south. So we'll have to see. I mean, I was watching the news yesterday on the Cornish coast, and boy, I'm glad I'm inland sometimes. When you look at some of these sea the houses up by the sea getting absolutely battered by the waves, literally whisked up from the winds. So yeah, it'll be an interesting one.
Yeah, I certainly agree. As I said, folks, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, become a member if you can, super chat if you're want to have your say highlighted. Please do that. It helps us grow the channel immensely. Jordy Dan, I had to chase me bloody recycle bin down the road.
Well, that was it. Main result because the recycle bin got emptied this week, so it's got no weight in it. Hey.
Yeah. No, that's pretty cool. That's pretty funny, actually. Um, Kevin says there's a 3:30 flight to Southampton, which hasn't been cancelled. The 5:55 p.m. has, which one is us? 5:55 p.m. already cancelled, and
Wow.
3:30 is that the 3:30 p.m. as well?
Well,
Oh,
if
no.
you, by us you mean the team.
The team, yeah.
They'll be on neither of them. They'll be on a charter, on their own
Yeah,
private
they'll
charter.
be on a private plane, which always seems to be the most dangerous ones, to be honest, because they do whatever they want at their own risk. So you got to be really careful, man. So yeah, I mean, it's I guess this is a topic of today. The storms is one of the topics. As far as the football side of things is concerned, what do you guys think could be a question? Maybe Botman, the Pope question.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a couple, isn't there? Because there was a couple of players that apparently came off with slight knocks. If you listen to all the jibe, I mean Murphy, is that the reason why they've held on to Miggy? Because obviously there's nothing else in line to come in for Miggy. Excuse me. If Miggy had gone, because Murphy did come off with that. Well, I mean, literally, if you had a look at SofaScore when we were watching the match, I had it on my phone. It come off with a cross on him. So obviously there was some information passed on that Murphy was carrying an injury, but I haven't seen anything else.
I wonder though if because an offer for Miggy, you're not going to get it all the time.
What Eddie said in his post-match to the press, not the televised interview, Jacob just felt his calf slightly, so we withdrew him.
There you go then.
Joe Willock felt his hip slightly, so we withdrew him. Sven had an ongoing groin complaint, but we think he is going to be okay. The same with Alex. We hope he will be okay.
But that could be an initial thought, and then they're told something different. So we don't know yet what it would be. I guess until his ass today. But would it really be worth it to veto a Miguel Almiron move when you know that you're probably not gonna get an offer again, man? Because it's he's not a player that's always wanted. Would it be okay to veto somebody like that just because?
I don't think it's a veto of the move. I think it's more of delay of the move. I think obviously in every game that we get closer to Barnes coming back into the squad, it just means then you've got a versatile player that can actually play left and right. The same as Anthony Gordon. Yes, you don't get the same effect, but you've actually got a player that can come in if anything happens to a other player. And I think what Eddie Howe has to look at, and again, we're looking at depth of squad here, and as a group, as a fan group, we've often said there's certain positions that we are very, very thin on the ground, and there's very little to support those positions. And for me, it's a case of sometimes you just have to swallow your pride a little bit and say, I can't just let Miggy go, because if Murphy gets an injury today, I haven't got a single player that I can put in his place.
Well, I think you bring somebody out the kids.
Well, then that's what I'm saying. It's that double-edged sword, isn't it? All the kids played on Friday. So why would you play those players if it was a case? I mean, for me, Kowal played really well. I've watched the match, going on what Josh was saying about the game, and Kowal did play all right. And I must admit, Alfie Harrison played an absolute blinder in midfield. He looked head and shoulders above everybody. And I've said that in the past, you always will see players at their own age group that excel. And for me, I don't know whether it was the move going up to the northeast or what, but Alfie Harrison just hadn't looked a player that I was expecting. He seems to be coming to form now. But again, I've seen Alfie Harrison even play on the right-hand side for the young uns. So, I mean, there is players coming through the ranks that can sit in there, but are they Premier League ready? And I think that's the difference.
Yeah, that could be something.
Well, what I'm saying though is, I would rather play somebody who's not Premier League ready
Then Miggy.
than block the Miggy move.
Well, yeah, I mean, I
But
would agree
yesterday you were saying the total opposite. You were saying not to play a weakened side because it's an easy game.
No, but I'm saying regardless of the opposition, as far as I was concerned, Miggy was gone.
I still think Miggy is gone. I just think it's a case of it's been delayed because they want to try and get Barnes as close to return as possible.
Yeah,
without going into
yeah,
big.
and
We've got some
when
really big games coming up now. You know, after this game and Fulham, you know, we've got the Man Cities and a lot coming our way. So that's when you need all your bodies free and fit.
yeah, like I said, we've got to get rid of Miggy. We've got to.
Oh, I agree. I agree. We shouldn't be holding on to him if we don't need him. But I just think at this present moment in time, he's got to manage a squad. And if that's what he feels is necessary, and it's exactly the same as what he's done with Dubs, isn't it? He's had to swallow the sword a little bit with Dubs, knowing that we hadn't got another keeper of that ilk or somebody that he trusts.
But
you know,
By the way, we have
Dubs.
got until 1 o'clock today to get somebody in.
Well,
I don't know about all that, man. But there's a massive difference though between Dubravka's performances and Miggy. I mean, I don't think Miggy is that important.
Oh, I agree with you, mate.
Anymore.
Yeah.
So we should. I mean, we will see. We will see. Maybe Eddie will be asked that question as well. So, all right. Rugby says I don't think Byrne will be dropped. Sensational all season. Didn't have a good game against Bournemouth, but not many did. The other question I hope someone asks is if has Eddie looked at something different when we are losing apart from the 4-4-2? We have tried it multiple times, went down this season with zero success.
Well, that's not true because we've been down. We've already got more points this season from having been behind than we have, since he came. After going winning from getting points from losing positions.
Mm.
Not so much at home, by the way. That was a strange quirk. The 4 times we've gone behind at home, we've lost 3 and drawn 1.
Mm-hmm. Well, I wonder what questions will be asked, man. Or maybe they'll just ask him about what he's going to be doing in 10 years and all that stuff. So
they're the usual bulls.
No, he'll be asking what he had for his supper.
For his supper, yeah, exactly.
Are you looking forward to what his cat's name is?
Yeah. Will you be going to Bournemouth on your southern travels and all
that? Exactly.
Will you be calling in?
Yeah. I read an absolute cracker yesterday evening. I was actually laughing to myself. There was somebody had written a thing about obviously Eddie's not ever won a game but since he's been at Newcastle against Bournemouth, and they reckon he's got too much of a soft spot for them. So he always goes out with a weaker tactic. Well, I'm sorry, it just made me laugh.
Huh? Happy New Mike, by the way.
Well, it's not a new one. It's just obviously one that you obviously paved my way with some of the cards, which are you can't see it there. There you go.
Yeah, that's just ingenuity. It's just.
I'll tell you something now. It felt like Blue Peter when I was putting it together. I thought, you know what? I deserve a badge here, lad.
I had the same problem.
Yeah, we haven't got as posh as Chris's, mine, to be fair.
Oh, yeah. It's to be fair enough, these are very cheap, man. These are like £3. Or the $3.
Wow.
These foam thing. But it does take a little bit, though, because it comes from the Asian continent. Somewhere around there. So.
Banggood. Timu.
No, AliExpress, man.
AliExpress.
Yeah. But they do a good job, man. They're really.
It looks cool.
A very bad experience with AliExpress. They ended up taking, I'm not a word of a lie, 500 the order I put together was for 60-odd quid, and they took that out my account 500 times.
Whoa.
Whoa.
So
Jesus.
I was heavily
Are you?
involved in conversations with the bank when I had a. I
Yeah,
actually went to
you got
went to, spe-
30,000
went to
pounds just
spend
like that,
some
man.
money and couldn't.
Hey, make sure you
Oh, and I tell you, actually, it was the box office that I went to. It was
Hey,
Newcastle
all
United
right,
box
hold on.
office that I
Make
went
sure
to.
make sure you refresh the page so
Yeah, yeah.
we're ready. Um,
Yeah,
that's
we're
more
coming
important.
up in 54 seconds.
And yeah, let's keep it fresh. Damn, old man, you got that money laying around like that? Fucking hell, man. That's 30,000 quid, you know.
Yeah. Well, it was obviously 30,000 that I didn't have lying around, because when I went to pay for the tickets at the box office, it declined, and I went, eh?
Oh, yeah.
So I was straight from the box office to the bank saying, what the going on here? And they showed me.
All right, folks. The presser is coming up, of course. We shall get Eddie Howe on the screen speaking ahead of the Southampton match at any moment in time now. So be patient. He's coming.
Transfers and training grounds, by all accounts.
Oh, well, the training ground could be a good question that he's going to be asked, to be fair. So, yeah. Interesting.
Still nothing on my screen, so
Definitely.
What we'll be expecting from Eddie this morning is update on Mickey Almiron, update on Lloyd Kelly,
Definitely signings.
new training ground and injury updates.
Signings every week, man. He's going to be asked about that. Well, I mean, actually, until the remaining of this window, certainly. So. We shall see.
rugby analyst says Miggy out, ISM back in.
Uh-huh.
Yes,
Those were the days.
We were talking. Rugby
really,
analyst was saying about Pope. Would Pope come back in? We were talking about this last night, weren't we? Do you keep Dubs in, or do you throw Popey back in if he was fit? And to be fair, like we said, I couldn't for the life of me seeing Dubs staying if he was going to play second fiddle.
No.
So I think he's going to be the number one until the end of the season now.
Oh,
there we
yeah,
go,
we
ladies and
are here.
gents. Eddie Howe coming up.
Morning. Good morning.
2 seconds. Okay, morning everyone. Well done for getting here. Welcome to our presser ahead of the match at Southampton tomorrow. Usual things about the microphones, please turn them on ahead of your questions and turn them off after each one. And please keep your phones away as well, as it can interfere with them. Start with Razor.
Good morning.
Hi, Rosa.
Firstly, has the storm and the bad weather had any effect on your preparations for Southampton and your travel plans?
Potentially the travel plans. Yeah, we'll see how today goes. I think our plan, as always, is to travel today. But we'll seek advice from the authorities in the airport and everyone involved to whether it's safe to fly. If it's not, we could end up travelling tomorrow morning.
You would fly tomorrow morning then potentially, rather than getting the bus, because that's a long journey if you're going on the team coach.
Yeah, it is a long journey, and also there's no guarantee with the wind and the conditions that what you think might be an 8-9 hour journey might turn into a 12-13 hour journey. So we've got to be careful, I think, in that respect. So I think it's probably best that we look to do that, but nothing's guaranteed. We'll seek advice and try and make the right decision.
You've had a free week in the sense there's been no midweek game. Has that been a good thing for you?
I think it was a good thing initially because I think it gave us a chance to deal with some of the physical issues we had in the Bournemouth game. I think there's no doubt when you look back at that game and you watch it firsthand, the players were fatigued, and I think there was a big element of that was the reason behind our performance. So I think with the games that we had, and when you look back to sort of the end of the week, we had Wolves late on Wednesday and then an early kick-off. I think that that just swung it against us really in terms of our physical outputs, taking nothing away from Bournemouth, who played very well. But so it gave us a chance just to rest a few bodies and minds, and then come back and start work.
So have the players had a couple of days off at the start of this week before coming back in to build towards Southampton?
Yeah, some did. I think we tried to manage it against the players that needed rest and the players that needed work. So we've tried to make sure that now everyone's on the same page, and we should be fine going into the next game.
Just want to ask you about a couple of players. Firstly, Nick Pope, who I think last week you said would potentially be close for this weekend. Is there a chance he'll be in the squad?
Yeah, there's a chance he'll be in the squad. I think he's started training with the group again, and it's great to see Nick back and his presence and his positivity that he brings. Seen him do some really good things this week, so yeah, delighted to have him back in the mix.
And is it still a bit too early for Callum Wilson?
Yeah, it's too early for Callum. Callum's still on track for, I think, right at the beginning of February, if my memory serves me right. He's making good progress. We're trying to do the right things with him and make sure that he is robust enough and has all the work behind him and the load behind him before he starts training with the group. But he seems very positive, and what a massive player that would be to welcome back.
Finally, a couple of questions on Southampton. Take you back to the opening weekend. You had a player sent off. Southampton dominated possession, 11v11, and then obviously with the advantage, but you won that match 1-0, which was a huge result for you to start the season.
Yeah, it was. It was a really difficult game, as we knew it would be, because newly promoted team, very really possession-based principles, and we didn't start the game particularly well. Then you have the sending off, and it's a real challenge for the players mentally then to regroup and still find a way to win that game. Was a great start to the season for us in terms of results. But I thought Southampton that day showed their qualities. They're a very good technical team. They made the game difficult for us, but I was absolutely delighted, as I say, with how we responded to that moment.
And after a change of manager, are they still very much possession-based, do you think, or have they altered their style of play?
I'd say they're more mixed now. I'd say that there's still definitely elements of that possession-based play in their game. I don't think that will go away quickly, because they've been trained that way for a long period of time, and obviously the new manager's obviously embracing that as well. But I think you've seen definite changes in potentially structure and off the ball. I think it's probably been the biggest change, where you've seen a very aggressive man-for-man style off the ball, which is something we're going to have to do well against and try and combat. I think they've been competitive in the games. It's a very difficult moment for them, because in the games they've been in every one, near enough, and have just ended up on the wrong side of the results.
Thanks, Razor. Keith, Sky Sports.
Eddie, with the travel tomorrow, if you have to go in the morning, what kind of impact could that make for your preparations? Because we don't really see that much these days, do we? Especially for a long journey like that. Most Premier League teams at elite level would travel the night before if they could.
Yeah, I don't think it changes too much, to be honest. I think we've done it before ourselves. We've travelled on the day for a 5:30 kickoff, especially if the airport's close to the ground, and sometimes that's the easiest way. You're in and you're out. Through a 3 o'clock kickoff, that's slightly unusual, but it's something we just have to adapt to. I don't see an issue with it.
And what about for training today? Because it's obviously quite wild out there at the moment. Do you train as normal? Is there a danger to the players?
Well, it is slightly windy, I have to say. I struggled to get in a second ago. No, I think hopefully we can find a place that is sheltered enough so the ball doesn't deviate too much and we can actually train normally. We do have a dome that we use, but it's whether that's safe, because that's the strongest winds I've ever seen here or felt here. So fingers crossed we can train normally.
You mentioned a couple of the players there that have missed the last few weeks. Sven obviously started against Bournemouth last week, but then was taken off at half-time. How is he with his recovery and the fact that he's had quite a few games in a short period of time? Yeah,
it was a challenge for Sven, and I think Fabi has been ill and he wasn't 100% fit, and then we had Sven, who had done really, I think he's been magnificent since his return, but obviously that was a challenge for him, and I thought he looked a little bit fatigued in the game. Naturally, because he's been thrust into action, which has been a great thing for him. Minimal time to think, just straight back in, and he's got to find his rhythm. And by and large, I think he's been excellent in all respects. But a challenging few days for him. But that he's one player that we've tried to look after, and he's had a bit longer to recover. And Fabi now hopefully is over his illness as well.
On Miggy, it felt last week, not through anything you said, but just from what we're hearing elsewhere, that he may have played his last game. He could have been on his way. He's still here. Is there still a chance he could leave before the end of the window? And where is his head at with everything at the moment? I
think Miggy's head has been very, very solidly here. He's been brilliant in training this week. I've seen not one moment where I thought, I need to address this or speak to him or have a deeper conversation. I think we're both aware of the situation. Yes, there is interest in him from other clubs. There is potentially a chance he could leave before the window, but until that moment, and if that moment never arrives, he's still a valuable member of the squad. We love him to bits. He's got a great energy and character. That's never changed for a second. He's been the ultimate professional. And let's see what happens.
Just finally from me, looking at last week's game, and you kind of alluded to it there, but are you confident from what you've seen this week and speaking to the players that last week's performance, with such a big drop-off given your high standards, was a one-off? Are you confident that is a one-off?
Yeah, I'm confident it was a one-off. I've not seen us. I think the closest game to that this season will be Fulham away, where we've dropped in terms of our overall performance levels, dropped that far that you think there has to be a sort of a bigger reason. The players were trying. There was no issue on that side. It's just we had, I think, nothing left to give in that moment. And everyone collectively felt the same way, which is very, very difficult, I think, to then navigate the game. And we were in it until the end, and then the game got away from us in the last couple of minutes. But I think we have to learn from it, though. I think there will be games potentially when we feel like that again in the future. We definitely had games like that last year in our Champions League season where you're running on empty going into the game, but you have to find a solution and you have to find a way to still be competitive. And there's loads of things we could have done better to help us, despite the fact we weren't at our best.
Thanks, Keith. Andy?
Morning, Eddie. I was watching the Gallagher end at full-time whistle after full-time whistle on Saturday, and they were singing Eddie Howe's Black and White Army over and over again. What did that show of support mean to you and the players, despite the result and the performance on Saturday?
Well, it always means a lot, Andy. It always means that we're still united, and I think united in victory and defeat is equally important. We try to sort of send that message all the time to the group, to the whole club, really, that good and bad moments we need to be there for each other, and the supporters have never let us down on that. I think they've been absolutely magnificent. I think they could also see the game in the way that we all saw it, that the players were trying. We weren't at our best, that's very, very clear. We have to take responsibility for that, but I don't think there was a lack of effort or any other negative thing that you can label at the players. It was just we had nothing left to give.
You were saying there about some of the players having a couple of days off. We sat down with Tino Livramento in midweek, and he said he felt mentally refreshed after he came back. Did you feel a little bit like that after what has been it's been a torrid run of fixtures, hasn't it?
It's an interesting one for me. I've become accustomed to playing the games and really enjoying the games and preparing the games and everything that goes into that, reviewing the opposition, reviewing our performances. So I don't really I personally don't think necessarily an issue with the mental fatigue. I think it's more what we have to guard against is obviously the physical fatigue for the players, but also their mental load as well, which sounds funny, but it's the brain can sometimes dictate how it feels, the body feels, and we need to make sure that they're feeling free and energetic when playing.
You talk about Callum there and doing the right things to kind of ease him back, and what a massive return it would be for Newcastle. Are you doing anything different around Callum to ease him back as you would have done previously or not?
Well, if we're not, then more for us. We have to. We're always trying different things, trying to learn from previous experiences. And it will be the same for Callum. Callum's trying new things. And no one should ever think that we're steamrolling into the same processes, the same thought patterns, and expecting a different result. So our main aim is to keep Callum fit and keep him on the pitch and keep him available to play, because we know if he does, he's a big player and he'll always score goals. So I know that's what Callum wants, and he's trying his absolute maximum. He's doing everything he can professionally to keep himself on the pitch. And I'm sure everyone's united again in that support for him. You know, we all want the same outcome, to see him back to his best.
It'd be great to see him back as and when that is. Just finally, what sort of Newcastle can the fans making the trip this weekend expect to see down at Southampton?
Well, as I said, we need to learn from Bournemouth. So that game stings, it hurts, and we need a response. I've got no doubt the players will respond after that game, but there has to be a collective response from everybody, and we have to go to Southampton absolutely focused.
Thanks, Andy. Andrew?
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
By common consensus, Southampton aren't fighting for their lives any longer. They're actually down. Is that true, and does it make them more dangerous opponents?
No, absolutely not. I don't believe in that. It's a game that we absolutely have to respect our opponent, and we will in everything that we do in our preparation. Southampton are a very proud football club. Obviously have a lot of experience at Southampton, having played for both Bournemouth and Portsmouth. So, very proud football club. You know, great club. We have to be absolutely at our best. I don't think we've ever had an easy game at Southampton. They've always been very difficult, and they've got very good players as well. So it's up to us to show our right mental qualities.
And you must be aware that in the last two games they played actually very well, didn't they, against Manchester United, and then their almost comeback against Nottingham Forest suggests actually they are aggressive, they're front-footed, possession-based. They're going to be quite a tough opposition.
Well, they are, and that's why I said what I said. If you look at the Manchester United game, I thought they were outstanding for 80 minutes. That's one of the best performances I've seen at Old Trafford. They were dynamic, technically very good, as I said earlier, and a goal threat on the day. And then against Nottingham Forest, now Nottingham Forest have had a magnificent season, but at 3-0 down, you would, at half-time, that would have been a difficult moment for them, but you saw their character. They came back and could have arguably got something from that game as well.
Can I ask about the Champions League? It looks increasingly likely that England will get that fifth Champions League place, which obviously is great news for Newcastle. Does the Bournemouth result, in a way, put that title talk to bed, and the focus now is very much on winning one of those top 5 places, finishing in the top 5?
We've never talked about anything, and I think that's important to remember. There's always overreactions to everything, so overreactions to winning, overreactions to losing. Created, of course, by outside influences. I think for us, we just have to focus on trying to win the next game and find our momentum again, find our rhythm again, and we need to do that very quickly.
The Deloitte published their list of the wealth of the clubs around the world. Newcastle now 15th. Does that Newcastle have got money clearly, or turnover is increasing, and that's incredibly encouraging. Does it in any way give us a clue about whether Newcastle could be active in the transfer market before the window closes?
Yeah, I think that those things are always interesting to read and absorb. I think we've still got a long way to go when you compare our revenue streams to the clubs certainly above us in that league table. There's a big gap to fill, but certainly nothing's changed in terms of this window and my previous comments this month.
And finally from me, Fabian Schär presumably is fit and available to play tomorrow, so you have 3 fantastic central defenders in fantastic form. You've got a decision to make there at the centre of defence.
Yes.
Thanks, Andrew. We'll go to
Thank you very
Damien,
much.
Lee, and then Ian.
Hi, you talked earlier about the mental and physical aspects of the fatigue last week. I think we could all understand the physical side of it, but how big an impact can the mental side of things have, particularly after the sort of run of fixtures you've had?
Yeah, I think we looked a little bit. What I meant by that was we looked a little bit cloudy in our thinking at the weekend. Don't think we looked sharp with our decision making. Everything was took a little bit longer than it should have done, and then we were getting caught. But I don't want to labour that point. We didn't play very well. We take responsibility for that. Whatever the circumstances behind it, you have to. Otherwise, it can happen again, and we have to move on from it quite quickly.
And sorry to do it, but just to go to PSR, you would understand the figures better than us other fans. But can you understand the frustrations of fans who see clubs like Man City and Forest, who perhaps have fallen foul of the rules, being active in the market when you don't appear to be able to?
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one for me to go into. I wouldn't want to talk about other football clubs. I've never been of the opinion that I'm able to do that because I don't know their facts and their history. I only know this club, and I have to stick to commenting on us.
Thanks, Damien. Lee Ryder?
Eddie, just on recruitment potentially in January, is it fair to say you've got a position in mind if you could improve, or have you got an open book basically?
No, I've always said we have to do the work. So we have to prepare as if we can recruit, and I think that's the best way to be. So we've done the work. We know what we potentially would do. We know what positions we potentially would recruit in, but it's not for me to talk here. But it's just so everyone knows that the work's gone on, because I think otherwise you lose track of the market, you lose track of players, you lose valuable knowledge that you may need for the future. So we've done all the work that we need to.
Just on the PSR again, do you feel like the rules are fair at the minute? It feels like a bit of an injustice that Man City can just go out and spend 125 million just because they fell behind, and like we're at this position where we can't move basically. That doesn't seem fair.
Yeah, I mean, I've commented a lot on the rules. I don't know what more I can add really to it. My big thing is the incentive to sell your academy products or the players that have a book value of 0. That doesn't seem right to me. When you put all that effort into the players and you guide them through various age groups, the club and the coaches at the centres and the academies invest that time, they're the players with the most incentive to sell. I don't agree with that, and there's probably a lot more I don't agree with, but it's not the forum to express it.
Thanks, Lee. Ian?
Morning, Eddie. In a recent interview, Sir Alex Ferguson said that while his memory of the great Manchester United fades, he said he still remembers every detail of the big defeats and the heavy defeats. Is that the same with you?
Yeah, it is, unfortunately. For some reason, the brain seems to store those memories a lot more vividly and a lot more stronger and a lot more with a lot more feeling than the positive ones. So yeah, I could probably do the same. But I think that's healthy in a way. As long as you harvest it in the right way, it's healthy to help propel you then to make sure that doesn't happen again. The feeling that I felt on Saturday night, just based around purely our performance, not so much the result. The performance is a horrible feeling that every manager will experience, but it then forces you to do all the work and preparation, training, dedication to try and escape that feeling for as long as possible.
And on the same masochistic theme, you mentioned a few weeks ago...
Oh, please, bring it on.
A few weeks ago, you mentioned that on the trip back from Brentford, yourself and Graham Jones, you actually went through the entire match just an hour or two later. Was that the same last Saturday?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I had to watch it straight away. So as soon as I got home, yeah, a great Saturday night for my family. But yeah, it was me watching the game because I have to find what I think the answers are for my own peace of mind, really. So then I can enjoy what's to come.
So can you confirm you're a masochist?
Yeah, I mean, I think I like to face the reality. I don't like to hide away from it. So if there's a truth to be found, if there's something I need to expose just with my own eyes, then I'll try and confront it. I think as a manager, when you're trying to lead a club of this size, I think you have to try and face the truth sometimes and not hide away from it.
Thanks, Ian. We'll go to Craig, Chris, and then Luke. Craig.
Morning, Eddie. You sat here last week and you warned of short-term pain. I think we all knew what you meant by that with regards to PSR and transfers. Yep. Did the subsequent game against Bournemouth expose sort of potentially a longer-term issue in terms of you needing that squad depth? Now, we're not sort of pushing you, saying you've got to bring that in this month, but longer-term, is there a real need there to have more quality and more players? Because at the moment you're working with a pool of 12, 13 really at most, you would say.
Yeah, I mean, I get your point. I think it's a difficult one because I think when you look at our squad at the moment, we're sort of a little bit heavy on defenders, which is not necessarily a negative thing. just the balance is slightly off. You know, our attacking players, we've lost Harvey, Callum, and so now our attacking options from the bench in terms of forward areas is slightly limited. So I think that probably highlights the point you're trying to make a bit more. I think we've got real quality in a lot of positions, just maybe not in that top line. And that, of course, when you're looking to make attacking subs and change the game, they're the ones that you want. So I think that's a slight issue for us. But in terms of the quality of the squad and the quality of players we have, I think we have 20 fit players at the moment. I think they're outstanding players, and I think our squad's really strong. I think the second point I want to make to your question is just freshness of the squad. I think when you go consecutive windows without freshening the group in any major way, I think you run, I've said this before, you potentially could run into difficult waters with staleness, and I think healthy rotation of the squad in terms of transfers in and out is important.
A slightly different subject as well. Plans are coming along with regard to the training ground. Now at Bournemouth, you've said to us previously you were all over those plans of a training ground you never actually got to work in. Do you want to be involved this time? Will you be involved?
No, I probably don't think I will be. I think that will be for other people to design. I think you've got to remember, the history of Bournemouth. I was all over everything because there wasn't the infrastructure. I don't mean that in a negative way. There just wasn't necessarily the infrastructure at that club that there is here. So we'd gone from League Two to the Premier League. So you can imagine there was a lot of work to do to build the club upwards. This is a very different football club. And I think with decisions regarding training ground and stadiums, I'll be very much in the background, probably hearing what's happening with the experts involved, and then, hopefully looking on in awe at what we're going to do.
Thanks, Craig. Chris?
Morning, Eddie. You said there's still a chance that Miguel Almiron could go this window. Is that the same true of Lloyd Kelly?
I think slightly different situation with Lloyd. I've seen a little bit of the speculation on Lloyd. We've certainly not had any bid anywhere close to making the club, I think, make a decision on that. Lloyd's an integral part of what we're doing from my perspective. His challenge is to try and work his way into the team. He's only just arrived, so I think he's got a lot to achieve here. So a very different situation.
And on that, was it frustrating then to see an employee of an alternative club, I suppose you have an interest, comment on Lloyd Kelly publicly?
Well, I think whenever your players are talked about by other clubs, I don't think that's ideal. And certainly I would try not to do that myself regarding players contracted to other clubs as well.
Thank you. Luke?
I've completely forgotten what I was going to say. Are you effectively done for the window in terms of incomings? Is it? Can we say that now? Are you done?
I don't know how many times I've got to say it.
One more.
Well, but I don't.
You think you're done?
But you don't know. You never say never. So I'm not saying you'll be playing this back to me, going, "Well, you said no."
Definitely would. Yeah.
Yeah. But at this moment, as we stand, we've not been active in terms of incomings.
I only asked that because it's just a message worth getting. I know you've said it, but there still seems to be this idea that you're lying, or the player could come in later in the window. Not you lying, but there seems to be this idea, because the window's so quiet, people are kind of building this narrative that clubs are just saying they're not doing anything and they're going to do anything, but you couldn't be much clearer on it, and have been since probably December.
Yeah, even further back, I think. Look, I'm certainly not lying. I'd never intentionally lie to the supporters and try and mislead anybody. We're not in a position to be active in the market as we currently sit here now. That might change if something happens.
That's it. Thank you.
We'll go to Jordan, Kieran, and Martin.
Morning. Just similar to Chris's question, a lot of the noise around Lloyd seems to be from the buyer side. Is that frustrating for you, and is it unsettling for the player as well?
It's not ideal, but I haven't seen Lloyd distracted. I haven't seen a player that's head and heart is not in Newcastle, which is really important for me. If that was the case, then I'd certainly be addressing that with him. He's trained well. He's fighting for a place, and that's what I expect him to do.
And the speculation around Miggy and Lloyd, do you expect any more potential outgoings this month? There's been speculation around Odyssey's back at Demos this week with Saudi Arabia as well.
So sort of attached to Luke's question there, I'm not ruling anything out in terms of players leaving, but certainly not our core established players in the team, but there might be movement in certain other players.
Thank you. Kieran?
Morning. The agent of Abdul Kadir Kusanov said Newcastle were close to the deal, but PSR played a part in that. How frustrating is that when obviously you're identifying players and you can't get it done, I guess?
Yeah, I think it goes back to the question Lee asked me. We've done the work. So that's where I say we have identified players that we'd like to sign. We've spoken to the representatives because you have to do the process right. If something happens and we are able to recruit, you can't then start from zero. So yeah, of course we're seeing players that we've identified and liked and targeted move to other clubs, but that's always part of the game.
And with the restrictions you're facing, do you think we'll see the owner's ambition really in the infrastructure that you mentioned earlier, the training ground, the stadium? Is that maybe where we'll see, them come to the table?
Yeah, I'd certainly like to think so. I think that's really important, and I always say that about when you're trying to build a football club upwards and forwards. The infrastructure is so important. The training grounds where the players live day to day, that environment is key. It can help you recruit players. It can help you keep players happy. We need world-class facilities if the club's ambitions are to be realised. And then, of course, that's interlinked with the stadium. And our stadium's fantastic now, and I love playing there. But if we are to improve, whether that means staying or leaving, whatever the outcome, trying to bring world-class facilities here will be a game changer for us.
Okay, we're very tight for time. We'll go Martin, Dominic and Gary.
Hi Eddie, just a very quick one. You've touched on it already. How hard is it not being able to strengthen your team or your squad in a window?
I don't think it's necessarily hard, but I think it's the challenge for us is when you go a long period of time. As I said earlier, I think that can bring you challenges, not impossible challenges to overcome, but some hurdles I think you have to navigate. My wish has always been to try and recruit a player every window, to bring in that fresh face, to boost everybody, to increase competition. Loads of healthy reasons and research behind that, and we've always feel that we've done well off the back of that. Now, of course, we did bring players in the summer, but a different type of profile of signing, and I think that's certainly a challenge for us.
Thank you. Dom?
Just on Martin Dubravka, a few weeks ago you said there wouldn't be an official announcement or statement regarding his future. Can you just confirm that some form of agreement has been reached with him to keep him at least beyond this current transfer window?
Yeah, I believe talks have progressed well. I'm not 100% sure where they stand right now, but I think we're moving forwards together.
And with Nick Pope available for selection, Martin Dubravka as well, what would be your message to both players heading into an important run of fixtures?
Well, I think it doesn't matter whether they're goalkeepers or any other position. We need players performing at their best levels, and I'll always pick the best one.
Thanks, Dom. Gary, to finish.
Hi, Eddie. Obviously, you mentioned there last Saturday you spent rewatching the match. You probably rewatched it again. Just wondered, what's the biggest thing you learned from last week, and what's the thing you want to see improved most tomorrow?
I think whenever you see a game like that, there isn't one thing. If there was one thing, it would have been easy to fix there and then. It was a combination of things. As I said earlier, without repeating myself, but it was definitely linked to our physical feeling. So I'd love to see that change this weekend. I'd love to see us full of energy, full of running, sprinting, all the things in the hallmark really that we've done so well in the last group of games. You could see physically we weren't there. We were quite reactive, I think, in the game instead of being proactive. So I think first and foremost, before you talk about the tactical and technical elements of the game, physically you've got to turn up at this level to win.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you at Southampton tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so that was Eddie Howe. Interesting press conference. Let us know what you think in the comment section down below. Your comments will be scrolling through the screen, of course. So let us know what you think about it. I thought it was interesting. I mean, some questions, I mean, we can't go over the same thing all the time. Some questions are the journalists are not going to change, man, anytime soon. So some questions are relevant. And a good thing to know that Luke Edwards is back into being Eddie Howe's favorite pet. And he brought the teacher an apple, as he continues to do for his whole entire career. And it is what it is. Let me see. By the way, Daniel Cordone now, Harry, and the other Ravishing, the same dude with the same account. Give up, man. You know, I'm surely there are Macam YouTube channels out there that you can go visit. But you know, come on, man. Let me see. I have to put this guy in a timeout once again, man. Relax, bro.
Just
Anyway,
keep changing his name.
keeps just changing accounts, man. Unbelievable. Jordy, then there was a lot of truth, I feel. He basically confirmed French players will be likely leaving. Well, hopefully that's the case. I mean, that's actually a positive, I think, from
I
that.
tell you what my big take was from that. He said, I've never lied to the fans.
On purpose.
and that resonates because when he did the gig at the Tyne Theatre with Kevin Keegan, he was asked if you could give him one piece of advice, what would it be? And Keegan's one piece of advice to Eddie was, don't lie to the fans. So he's kind of saying there, I think, listen, I'm not lying to you, lot.
Yeah.
And that comes into what we were talking about the other day about communication from the club, doesn't it? Because he's been hung out to dry to answer all these questions.
Well, that I agree with.
And should there be somebody else doing the fine? You know, he was asked about the Deloitte table that just came out where we're 15th now in the world. So why can't we spend? You know, somebody else should be having to answer those questions.
Well, certainly.
Not him on a pre-match presser.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he needs to be somebody else needs to be answering. Paul Mitch has been awful quiet. You know, some people say because he's been working in about. I don't understand why you can't work on that.
Well, he
still,
did.
still
He did
talk.
say. He did say that you know, just because nothing appears to be happening doesn't mean that we haven't been doing an awful lot of work behind the scenes.
Wooming C asks Paul Mitchell or Saya, will Paul Mitchell need to come out to explain our transfer? Eddie have to cover his back. Well, I agree with that. Don't know why he doesn't actually. Nobody comes out. You know, nobody speaks out. There's no communication whatsoever. And some folks have said, why is there a need for fans to be told everything? And I don't think that's what fans are asking for. Fans are just asking to have a little more clarity on certain things because now there's none whatsoever. Roger Cook, nothing given away. I can only repeat that I'm not a body language expert by any way yet. Eddie House, a right eye flickered once to his bottom right when questioned about incomers. There you go.
Yes,
I love me. Hey, I love me body language, man. I love me some body language. Every time I analyze a play, I always look at the body language and body intent. So
I just think some of the journos now need a bright light in front of his face and one leather glove, and I think you might get the answers that everybody's asking. You know.
Yeah. What other takeaways are in this presser?
Well, started off with the travel plans, obviously saying that they haven't travelled today, and it could be a 12 to 13-hour journey, but it's best that we fly, so they're waiting to see potentially fly down tomorrow, or if not, set off very early in the morning.
That's going to be touchy though, mate. You know, even if they set off in the morning, as in very early, it's a 3 o'clock kickoff. It's different when it's a 5:30 kickoff when you've got the whole day to prepare.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think. I mean, I would be setting off in the coach today myself. Like.
Absolutely.
Steven said nothing about the according to him, stupid letter for ticket prices. No, that wasn't asked. And to be fair, again, you know, we would get Eddie Howe answering every single question that club related, which is not fair, and that's not gonna happen anyway. So, anyways, Nick Thornton, it's not down to Mitchell to offer us an update or insight. That's not his job, is it not?
It is his job.
is it not for a DOF, the person in charge of football, to update fans on what's going on? I think certainly is.
But do you not think, and I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here, you know, we constantly talk about keeping our cards close to our chest, and we don't want to be paying Newcastle tax. So if they're openly coming on board and talking about what we propose to do, is that not just giving everybody else that we're willing to buy from the opportunity just to raise that price a little bit more? That's what I'm saying. I mean, I think that there's, you know, in all infrastructure, you very rarely get the CEOs or anybody else coming and telling the plebs on the shop floor what's going on. The only time you hear about it is when change happens. And I think it's exactly the same in football.
Yeah, I think there's a middle area. We're not asking to know every single thing day by day, play by play on what's happening. But we literally haven't heard from Paul Mitchell since how long ago? I mean, you know, it's especially with this PSR situation. And not talking about specific targets or, you know, we're going for Mbuemo. We just asked Mbuemo. None of that. You know, but you can appease the you know, the fans without saying everything you're doing. I think that's what the fans want.
I agree. I just think, like, you know, a lot of the fuel that's been pushed into the fire is literally from outside sources, and exactly what Eddie says. The influencers out there that actually put it all in the media are the ones that start everybody talking and expecting all these big names coming forward. I mean, obviously, we know about Ivanov that was potentially, you know, we were close to signing, as in we'd agreed, we'd talked, but there comes a time where when you're up against Man City, who have spent more in this January than all other 19 clubs have done for the last umpteen years, you know, and I think that's where we come to that common ground. You have to start looking at the people that you're up against, and have I got the money to utilise now without selling players in June?
That's fine, you know, but that's what needs to be clarified on. That's what needs to be said, not Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe, I do tend to believe. Actually, I tend to know what's going to happen, which is nothing. I don't think we're going to sign anybody. That's my opinion based on just believing Eddie Howe. I don't think Eddie Howe is playing poker. I think Eddie Howe is just saying the truth of what he knows, and so that's what I think. So I'm at peace with that. Fans are not. They won transfers, and you know, the thing is, things are not or don't seem like they've been handled the right way with transfers, because we haven't signed anybody in 2 windows, and it looks like this one's going to be a 3rd window. So that's, you know, I think that's what's raising questions from fans. Not that, you know, we don't sign somebody this season, this window, but we haven't improved our squad at all. You can say Osula's an improvement, all right, fair enough, but that's it. If you call that an improvement, really, on the first team squad.
Well, Lloyd Kelly as well.
Yeah, but that Lloyd Kelly is an improvement on what? On his bank account. That's it. Because I mean, what's he done for the first team? He's not even the first one to come in for center backs. You know, so it's.
I mean, the one thing that I got out of the presser just was the fact that with words, sometimes you can employ a little bit of pressure towards the board in obviously what he said about the team becoming stale, and we've mentioned it before, and it's obvious that's, you know, it's an occurrence. If, you know, you go through so many transfer windows where you haven't got fresh blood in, and you're right, it's not fresh blood just to come in and sit on the bench or go and play at under 21 level at the academy. It's actually people that can compete for the 11 shirts that play first team football. And I think that's where Eddie is struggling at the minute. And we've said it week after week after week. There's a minimum of 8 players that turn up and play because there's nobody else that can fill that void. And I think that's where, you know, for me, that was Eddie firing not a gun across the bow. It was more a case of, you know, eventually I'm going to run out of ideas. and it will take a downward spiral. It'll be that 2 steps backwards rather than 2 steps forwards if we don't move very soon. And I don't mean it has to be this window. And if you read all, that's in the press, they're all saying now we've moved up to 15th in the Deloitte and Twos, financial side of things across Europe. We are the 15th best club financially, so that's a positive. But again, if you listen to a lot of the experts, what they're saying is, if Newcastle go into June, they are strong, but still not with the ability to go out there and spend loads of money. So it depends on who you listen to, and that's what I'm saying. I think there was an absolutely brilliant article yesterday that I put up on the chat about what Amanda and Mirdad unfortunately did for Newcastle in these windows by going and trying to please the fans and Eddie Howe and going a little bit too gung-ho too soon. And I think that's where Mitchell has come in and tried to balance the books and have a strategic plan going forward rather than just a buying without selling, which is what Amanda and Mirdad unfortunately did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, Eddie did say that ideally he would like at least one player in per window to help keep things fresh.
Yeah, he did say
And
that.
that's what we haven't been doing lately.
At all. We're almost 3 players behind. So and the reason why
imagine if I had those 3 players, decent players, what a difference it would make to the squad as a whole.
But and the reason why I tend to think that we haven't handled things well is because we're not gonna fix that this window. We're not gonna buy 3 players and 4 players and everybody's gonna be happy again. We're not gonna do that. No matter how many times Wynn tells us that we can do it, we're not going to do that. We cannot do it. You know what I mean? So we're still behind the 8 ball here. So to catch up, how long is that going to take if we're having issues like this? You know what I'm saying? How long is that going to take for us actually to have a full squad that can compete? How long? It's going to be a while. It's not going to be easy. And the more we continue not to make an improvement on the squad, the more we fall behind. The more we fall behind, and to catch up is going to be a lot. It's going to take a long time. So
he was also asked about the one thing that was said we would like to see him asked about, which was the fact that he now has allegedly, apparently, 3 top class centre halves available. How does he go about choosing which ones? And he was asked specifically about Botman coming off at half time, to which he said it was a challenge for Sven. He has been magnificent since he returned, but he's been thrust into action, and by and large he's been excellent. He is the one we will look after. So maybe that's the fact that he's going to be looking after Sven, maybe that's a little bit of a hint that he's going to be rested tomorrow.
Maybe.
So it will be Shane Byrne, which was
but he did laugh, didn't he, when he was asked about having 3 top quality centre halves, and it's like can you pick 2 out of the 3? And I mean, that's where Eddie laughed a little bit, and he went, so you're right. I think there's a potential that he could just have a backseat a little bit just to get himself mentally prepared for the games.
Yeah. And
the same with Nick Pope.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
He was asked a few things. He was asked about Dubravka's contract, and was you aware? And he thought, I think it's been sorted out.
Right.
But he said there's a chance Pope will be in the squad. He started training with the group again, and it's great to see Nick back and his presence, the positivity that he brings. I've seen him do some really good things this week. So yeah, delighted to have him back in the mix. But as we spoke about yesterday, I think the fact that Dubravka looks like he isn't going to Saudi,
Well,
probably means that he's been given assurances.
Well, exactly.
All the money. All the money.
But I just doubt that he would just stay just because. You know what I mean? I'm sure he had to have conversations like I want to, because man, the manager can say everybody is the same and everybody competes, but that's all rubbish, man. The manager knows when a player is a starter and when there's subs. So maybe Dubravka wanted some reassurance. Now, once the window is closed, then he can just put Pope back on. But I mean, that would be some dog move. That would be a dog move, to be honest. But also with that being said,
doesn't sound like our nice Eddie at all.
that would be dog move, and trust me, it wouldn't go well because the locker room would know that they can't trust Eddie. So I think he'll follow his word, and Dubravka might just be ahead of. But it's hard to think about. A team where Pope is available and he's not playing.
Yeah,
based on what we've seen.
And he was asked about Callum yet again. Too early this weekend for him, but he's still on track for returning right at the beginning of February. So hopefully he'll be back before the Arsenal game anyway.
Yeah, to get them 10 goals.
Yeah, he's making good progress. We're trying to do the right thing with him to make sure he's robust enough and has all the work behind him and the load behind him before he starts training with the group. But he seems very positive, and what a massive player it would be to welcome back.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the beauty of it at this present moment in time. Come so hopefully I'm gonna put myself on the limb here. The middle of February, we should really only have Lascelles out of the club.
Yeah, and even he should be,
and he should be close to return.
Yeah.
So
it's in March.
Well, that's what they said at the beginning of March. He should be with the first team, so he should be returning to, playing with the first team in training in February.
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
and then he was asked about Miggy because Miggy's still here.
Yeah, that's another one too. I mean, go on.
He said, I think Miggy's head has been very, very solidly here. He's been brilliant in training this week. I've not seen one moment when I thought, I need to address this or speak to him and have a deeper conversation. I think we're both aware of the situation. Yes, there is interest in him from other clubs. There's potentially a chance he could leave before the window. But until that moment, and if that moment never arises, he's still a valuable member of the squad. We love him to bits. He's got great energy and character, and that's never changed for a second. He has been the ultimate professional.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think they have a good relationship, and that shows. But he knows that he probably has to take this opportunity for both, for all involved. Because I'm sure Miggy is not. Once players start being questioned, they by the way, they watch all this stuff, man. It's not like they don't. They hear when they're being questioned and all that. Especially, prime example is Longstaff. He knew exactly what he was getting, talked about and blamed and everything. So, if it, once your time is up, man. It is what it is.
What was your guys' thoughts on the Fenerbahce going public regarding Kelly? Because he wasn't happy with that, was he?
Yeah.
What? It did go public. I mean, Fabrizio Romano reported the Juventus move as well, or attempt. So, I mean...
Yeah, but it was a public outburst by Fenerbahce, wasn't it?
Yeah.
About trying to unsettle Kelly, saying that, all this, their interest. It was like a public interest, where, yes, we know Juventus have an interest and they have come through the right lines. By all accounts, Fenerbahce didn't. They tried to contact, well, that's what the story was. They tried to contact Kelly's agent away from the club.
And clubs never like that. Clubs never like that when agents go straight to the player. I've seen it done many times.
I don't think that's ideal, and certainly something that I wouldn't do.
Yeah. He wasn't too happy about that one.
No, he wasn't.
He also said Lloyd's an integral part of what we're doing from my perspective. His challenge is to try and work his way into the team. He's only just arrived, so I think he's got a lot to achieve here. So it's a very different situation, meaning it was a different situation from Miggy or Dubravka.
Yeah. I mean, apparently, I read somewhere that they're still, going to better that initial offer. They're going to have to. Juventus.
Well, that was because he said that, didn't he? He says we haven't received an offer that has made us like sit up and take notice.
Exactly. So, and we'll do me and Win will do we said we're gonna do like a news daily thing after this. So recorded, of course. So stay tuned to what's going on out there. But anyways, go on. What else? Did we talk about the weather? We did talk about the weather.
Yeah.
He was asked about which I hadn't heard anyway. Had you heard anybody talking about the title apart from me?
Yeah, I think that's like more tongue in cheek, though, isn't it? That's what he's saying.
Title Champions League,
and that was again when he talked about the outside influences. You win so many games, and all of a sudden your title challengers, your cup winners, blah blah blah. And like he said, he goes game to game.
Yeah, there's always overreactions to everything. So overreactions to winning and overreactions to losing, created, of course, by outside influences. We haven't talked about it within the group. Yeah, there was only one group today. I noticed. I was on group count, and there was only one group.
Group count.
Well, to be honest, I don't know why you can't do both. I mean, the league is one competition, the cup is another competition. I mean, it's there's no reason why you can't focus on both.
Absolutely.
And so I never understand these questions. Which one you prioritize? There's no prioritization of nothing, man. We go out there and try to win every game. We don't even have the squad really to be saying I'm going to prioritize this or not. Or maybe you do, because if you put all the substitutions in the cup, you're giving it away really, because the subs are not up to par. If we saw it against Bromley, but yeah, man, just go out there and try to beat everybody. It's plain and simple. Yeah, Champions League now needs to be our focus. Certainly.
Yeah. Well, that was the only notes I've taken.
That
were worth.
Yeah.
Like
That's
I say,
right.
the big one for me was I don't lie to the fans.
Willingly. So you always got to put that in there.
No, I don't think it's willingly.
He did say
deliberately, perhaps. No, he didn't.
Well,
say
deliberately, but he said, but he could be. Yeah, he said that though. He said that. So there could be a gray area there between not lying and not telling the whole truth. So tomato, man.
I think it was interesting when he said about the players given a break at the start of the week as well, to try and get them mentally prepared, because he was saying about this fatigue and he thought it was more mental fatigue than physical. They just wasn't switched on to compete with the game that Bournemouth presented to them. And he's given them a couple of days off just to go away and relax and obviously focus. And he seems to think it's done the trick. So the proof will be in the pudding tomorrow.
Indeed.
Exactly.
Tino Livramento apparently especially enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be fair, his interview was really interesting. I don't know whether you guys had seen that.
No, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's worth a watch on YouTube.
All right. Anything else from the presser, ladies and gents?
No, I think we've covered most of it.
That's it.
There we go. So
the usual sparkling repartee between Eddie and the journalists.
Oh yeah, this. Oh boy! I'm glad Luke Edwards brought an apple and a pear today for the teacher. That's good.
In his satchel.
He was sent to the corner for a week. And now he's back. It's all good. He's back to being. That's why that question, I believe wholeheartedly that it was just him joking around when he said you're boring or whatever, which I still haven't heard of really, because he is an Eddie Howe lover, man. He's an Eddie Howe lover. He probably gets together, for Thanksgiving, although you guys don't celebrate it. But it's you get the point. Come on, it is what it is.
Yeah, I think the beauty of and again, everybody sees Eddie Howe totally differently. I think the trouble is with Eddie, he's never up there or he's never down there. And I think he's Mr. Middle of the road, and so people can never judge or understand his emotion towards a win or a loss. I mean, he says all the right things, and I think as a journo, what you're expecting is a Marino. I am number one type of thing. They love that flair. They love that, I suppose, that that personality. And with Eddie, you don't get that. So I suppose a lot of journos can find that, Mr. Middle of the Road, quite boring.
Looking for a sound bite.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we'll end up on Roger's comment. Great presser coverage. There you go. Thank you, mate. And thank you to everybody that's been chatting. Darren Lee, Rugby, Kevin Bell, Jordy Dan, a lot of people. TX, ZZ, Paul Irwin, everybody. Everybody that's joined us. Can't mention everybody, but appreciate your support. Hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe if you're new. Become a member if you can to NUFC Talk TV, Newcastle United fan channel. We're working on a video that will probably come out at 4 p.m. So stay tuned for that one. Just talking about the news throughout the day. So around 10 p.m. Be aware of that video, news video, and at 10 p.m. tonight, if you're out and about, well, not actually, if you're in and about, because if you're out, you won't care. But if you're in the house, if you just happen to be,
you're not gunning on the tune.
Yeah, turn in NUFC Talk TV, 10 p.m. quiz night. We're gonna have a Newcastle United quiz. We only got 15 questions though, because we gotta, because the 20 questions take too long sometimes. But regardless, we're gonna have the quiz night tonight, having fun, have a few beers. 10 p.m. quiz night. Newcastle. How much do you know about Newcastle United? Are you a proper fan? Mighty Wayne is not, because he's only won once with help. So come on. Anyways, great. Thank you so much for your support, folks. We will see you at 4 p.m. and then 10 p.m. Bye bye.
How are the lads?
The lassies and bands.